Okay, with that, we will we'll come back to our school board meeting, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And if any of you would like to start it, any of you students, that'd be great. And now we'll have focus on the students with the Bel Air Music Education.
Okay, so while they're setting up, you can go ahead, Beth. These are our students, and I'm going to pass around the mic once they get going and get set up so they can introduce themselves. This is something that Mrs. Hirschman took on herself. It's an extra thing. It was cold outside, and she thought, what else can we do? And so these kiddos were very excited. We can go to the next one, Beth. Of course, we're always looking at our standards, being the wonderful Bel Air elementary school that we are, right? But this is the song that they're going to play, and Mrs. Hirschman ties in also her I can statements, which are their next two slides, Beth. I can learn to hold the guitar correctly. Are you guys holding the guitar correctly? Getting there, right? And then the next one, which is I can strum the first three strings and play an easy G chord. And you guys will be amazed. We have rock stars in the making here. So I'm going to pass the mic down and have them introduce themselves. Just say your first and last name.
Piper Womans, Gavin Russell, Jada Johnson, Andy Stover, Amelia Keister, Bryce Schmidt, Axel Anderson, Parker Lindemus.
All right, now I'm going to have Mrs. Hirschman tell a little bit about how she got this process started.
I asked for permission. Last 2 years, I've done a small guitar class at Jefferson. And then this year when I started teaching orchestra over there, I wasn't quite sure how to manage stuff. And then I started another class on Wednesday at Bel Air, so with my time. And so the kids have been asking, the parents have been asking, and some students were bringing guitars in and asking for some help. And so I decided I'd add a little bit to my classroom with it and open it for like a study hall at lunch, because I have recorder players coming in as well, and I didn't want to discourage them in their growth. So I've also put it on my webpage, some of the songs and the material for the kids, and you guys, almost all of you have accessed that, right, to practice with? So, and then Amelia's got one of my guitars that I've been bringing in, so that's not her personal. And then we've got 3 ukuleles, so we're adding ukuleles or guitars, whatever you got, just bring it in. We'll make it work.
We did want to tell the parents, if you wanted to come on this side, you can surely come on this side and view this way if you'd like.
Try to get better shots.
Trying to video, we can tell.
Yeah.
We want them in the video, not
Okay. All right, you guys ready? I'll let you go.
I'm gonna play
Our little rock stars. Good job, you guys. That was wonderful. All right, who wants to share why you like doing this? What did you guys shared with me? There's a reason why. So tell me what you think. Who wants to share? We had some good ones.
Because my big sister started playing, so I wanted to play so I could do it with her.
Because it's new and I thought it would be fun.
They sound good.
I think it's challenging and interesting.
We hit all areas at Bel Air. So I am very proud of them. They did a wonderful job. Good job, you guys. Nice work. Thank you guys for having us. You can head back. You can bring your chairs back. Good job, you guys.
That was awesome. Thanks, you guys. Okay, next we have Award for Excellence.
And our award for excellence winner, and Mr. Specht and I have a couple of things that we would like to say, is to Miss Brenda Simpson. You can come on up here.
Running up here.
Very good. Just a couple comments here that have been said about Brenda and her dedication to her job and the students that we have. So Mrs. Simpson goes above and beyond what needs to be done. She absolutely has the students' best interests at heart and will do whatever it takes to make sure they succeed. She does an amazing job of giving students the opportunities to learn about who they are and how they can be advocates for themselves. This aspect of learning helps build self-esteem for the students, which then turn into amazing growth. Mrs. Simpson is a valued leader within our building community. She communicates with staff on a consistent basis, and this team approach helps our students succeed. She is an outstanding staff member, and her opinion is greatly valued. We are very lucky to have Brenda on our middle school team.
And some more comments. Brenda is not only passionate about teaching and learning, but also compassionate about the dignity of every student she encounters. Anyone who has had the opportunity to observe Brenda sees the obvious connection that she makes with students. It is kind of her superpower. Mrs. Simpson cares deeply about each and every student she encounters on a daily basis. Due to her caring nature, building relationships is a major strength, and our students are better because of it. So many of our students enjoy seeing Miss Simpson throughout their day and greet her with a smile. And I told you that I would have to write something, so this should be the one that scares you. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Professionally, Mrs. Simpson is one of a kind. Intelligent, quick-witted, advocating, and boisterous laughter are some of the best words and phrases to describe Miss Simpson. She's a great staff member and teacher, and the middle school is better because of her. I enjoy our many conversations, as she has made me a better educator and pushes me to continually improve as a leader. Congrats, Mrs. Simpson. Well deserved. Brenda, you want to say something?
Oh, yes. Got my card just in case I forgot what I wanted to say. I am honored and thankful to receive this award. It is humbling to be recognized for my hard work and dedication to my students, their parents, and my coworkers. I am overwhelmed with gratitude, and I want to share this achievement with my students, colleagues, administrators, and family who push me to be a better teacher and person every day. Students who access the Achievement Center will benefit from the money I receive from earning this award. I am proud and blessed to work for Norfolk Public Schools, and I look forward to what the future holds. Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
Congratulations. A lot of people don't give those good acceptance speeches like that. Okay, next we have our Success Pins recipients. Dr. Thompson.
Another way that we recognize staff for their outstanding contributions to Norfolk Public Schools is through Success Pins, which can be given to anybody within the system by anyone else within the system when they see something great going on. The Cash Now winner for the month was Rachel Zolke. She will receive the $50 gift certificate from Compliments of U.S. Bank. The remaining Success Pin recipients are Tara Bartek, Maureen Johnson, Rosalva de la Cruz, Mary Kirby, Patty Lichty, Allison McDonald, Teresa Goodrich, Katrina Mills, Natalie Dolezal, Becky Lechner, Abby Zimba, Carly Connaught, Julie Muehlbauer, Jennifer Robinson, Josh Weber, Matt Skiff, Sonia Nielsen, Morgan Centrone, Renee Rucker, Heather Thompson, Mickey Mueller, Cami Asmus, Chris Anderson, Sherry Thielen, Katie Wright Oswald, Chuck Hughes, Jill Marsden, Andrea Luna, and Rachel Zolke.
This is the time during the meeting when the public may request to address the board. If you wish to comment, we ask that you identify yourself and the topic that you wish to address. Each individual's comments will be limited to 5 minutes. Please note that the board cannot discuss or act upon any matters that are not listed on the agenda. Therefore, board members will not respond to your comments or questions. If you wish to request that an item be placed on a future board agenda, you may contact the superintendent or her assistant during normal business hours. Also note that concerns related to school personnel need to be addressed to the superintendent using the approved district protocol. Okay, next we have the Finance and Facilities Report. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. The total amount of claims to be approved in the consent agenda for the month of March by specific fund are as follows. The general fund, $511,651.12. The nutrition fund of $225,352.38. The cooperative fund of $7,395.09. Depreciation, $424,890.92. Special building fund, $7,881.24. And with the student fee fund, we had $6,169.07. For the month of February, we had $97,305.93 from the activity fund. All these claims were reviewed earlier today by our Finance and Facility Committee. I'll entertain any questions at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Teaching and Learning Report. Beth Nelson.
Thank you, Madam President. Okay, so we've got a lot going on. Today is just a friendly reminder that tomorrow is the 4th annual Project Problem Solve Day happening at Lincoln Montessori. This event is sponsored by Big Red Kino. This year's grant award was over $5,000. All 3rd graders across the district will get to experience many lessons taught by 4th grade Montessori, middle school, junior high, and senior high students in the areas of science, math, technology, and engineering. The public session is open from 5 to 7 in the evening. And you should probably hear some pieces and parts on the radio tomorrow. State testing for ELPA is underway. The NSCAS window will open March 18th. Right now, we've trained everyone on proper administration of the tests, and we're assuring that correct students are enrolled, as we have had many come and go and leave the district within the last month. So we got to make sure that's all right. On Monday, March 4th, we hosted John Baylor at the senior high for a session with juniors on tips and tricks and strategies for taking a successful ACT. 283 students were in attendance. Let's see, what's my next thing here? I lost my space. Oh, now that Heather Thompson and Renee have completed their depth of knowledge training for teachers, they're also working on those proficiency scales that we mentioned in study session, as well as in the future, creating and putting together appropriate assessments. But I really appreciate the work that they have done and the thoughtfulness that they put together on their work. And it's getting that time of the year. So Mr. Hart and I have discussed professional development for next year already, and we're trying to get things in order and get our orders processed for curriculum as well. And in April, there's a statewide conference on accountability. I hope to learn more about the evolution of decisions revolving around AQuest, and Jamie Jo will speak to AQuest in her report as well. But as I learn through things, I'll bring that to your attention. Any questions about any of this?
Beth, could you just explain a little bit who John Baylor is?
Absolutely. Okay, so he's actually pretty well known across the country. He has put together a program that helps kids study for and put together good test-taking strategies to make them successful on that ACT. The ACT is a very unique examination. I sat in on part of it, and it was just interesting because he was like, you use your time, and don't just bubble fill if you don't know. That's for the last 15 seconds of this test. And then he talked to them about, if the answers look like this, you need to consider this. So he has a definite comprehensive program on that. You can get John Baylor test prep in a lot of different modes. This seemed the most best investment that we could put forth right now.
Did you find students ask him questions?
He was actually very engaging with them. He's very dynamic, and he'd say something, and then he'd repeat it later, and then he'd ask back, now what did I say about that? And they were I think the students that were there really wanted to be there because they weren't forced to be there.
My daughter went, and she's a sophomore, so they must have had some
Yep,
spaces.
they opened, yep.
Yeah, and she came home and talked a lot about it and has taken the ACT once and said, and then I learned this, and then what about this? And then he said, so I feel like in that short amount of time, there must have been a really good amount of information that was presented in a way that she could easily just rattle it off to me when she came home. So that gave me a good impression of how it went.
Right, and he did a nice job too, I think, of giving very specific things. He says, okay, now this paper you have here, all right, this weekend you're gonna get together with somebody else in this room and you're gonna work on this and you're gonna work on that. And then you have this to do before April 2nd, which is when you take your ACT. And he was giving very specific instructions to him. So I'm glad we did that, and I have to give the idea and the credit to Mr. Ippenson on that. But yeah.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, Mrs. Nelson. Student Services Report, Mary Lore.
Thank you, Madam President. Just your conference numbers, Little Panthers Preschool was at 99%, Bel Air was at 98%, Grant was at 99%, Jefferson was 95%, Lincoln 100%, Washington 98%, West Side was at 99%, Woodland Park was at 99%, middle school was at 70%, junior high was at 58%, and high school was at 39%. Always a smaller number in the spring. Immunizations were offered through Elkhorn Logan Valley Public Health Department during 7th grade registration on March 6th last week, and will be offered again in the August registration. Kindergarten enrollment has started for the 2019-2020 school term. Registration is being held at neighborhood schools. Parents must have a birth certificate and a copy of immunizations to begin the enrollment process. Kindergarten Roundup will be held Wednesday, April 17th at your neighborhood elementary school. The LP assessment ends this Friday, March 15th, and for our students, actually Thursday the 14th, because they don't have school. And we will get the results of the assessment in May, which is something we really like with ELPA, that we get it much quicker. So, any questions?
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Human Resources and Accreditation Report, Mike Hart.
Thank you, Madam President. Real quick, just a couple things on school safety. On Wednesday, February 27th, as we talked about at the study session, Officer Gina Jones from the Nebraska State Patrol provided CRAKE, which is Civilian Response to Active Killer Events training to many of our classified staff members. This training, which was the same training that our certified staff, our teachers, went through in January, really helps our employees increase their situational awareness during crisis situations. And the training also empowers our staff to proactively think about decisive actions they could take to make sure they're keeping themselves and our students safe. Also on Wednesday, March 6th, part of our strategic goal on safety is our district reunification team held a practice drill over at First United Methodist Church. This drill was an excellent way for our team to conceptualize and critically think about how to effectively and efficiently respond to a student-parent reunification. We're going to actually have an event coming up with students in the spring, so I'll keep you posted on that. Both of these trainings continue to exemplify our district commitment to keeping our staff and students safe. As you'll see later in the resignations and contract approvals, we have been super busy in the HR office. So hiring season continues to be very busy as we carefully review the applications and make sure that we're selecting outstanding candidates to fill our recent and anticipated openings. We also remain proactive in recruiting high-quality educators through a wide variety of media sources, networking activities, and campus visits. And Mary Lou and I were in Kearney this morning trying to recruit people. And we'll be in Lincoln tomorrow, just trying to get the best people to come here to work for this great district. And the personnel update is below. I would entertain any questions at this time. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to remind everyone of our March 1st weather announcement. We were fortunate that we only had 2 snow days prior to the March 1st deadline. This means that we will have a full spring break, Friday, March 15th, Monday, March 18th, and Tuesday, March 19th. If we would have had more than 2 snow days, we would have reduced that break, starting with Tuesday and working back to Monday, if needed. I also want to talk a little bit about AQuest classification updates. As we've reviewed in the past, AQuest, which stands for Accountability for a Quality Education System Today and Tomorrow, is the Nebraska Accountability System developed to meet federal requirements of ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act. There's a lot of acronyms in this. I apologize for that. The original determinations for the 2017-18 school year were published in December. Based upon our EBA, our evidence-based analysis, a small margin of schools were allowed to submit additional information to support their EBA ratings and then could qualify for a bump up in their classification. Both Norfolk Junior High and Norfolk Senior High were allowed to do this. After NDE reviewed the information over an extensive time period, both the junior high and the senior high classifications were adjusted from good to great. As a reminder, there are 6 tenets within the EBA. They are positive partnerships, relationships, and student success, transitions, college, career, and civic ready, educator effectiveness, educational opportunity and access, and assessment. The junior high represented sufficient evidence in the following categories that awarded them with a bump up in their classification. Those were educational opportunities and access, college, career, and civic ready, assessment, and educator effectiveness. The senior high represented sufficient evidence in the following categories that awarded them with a bump up in their classification: positive partnerships, relationships, and student success, transitions, college, career, and civic ready, and assessment. I want to say, and not just because they're sitting here, but it is in the notes, I really appreciate the work that went into submitting evidence. It was quite extensive and occurred over Thanksgiving break. But I think it was very important because I believe that great is a much more accurate reflection of our school's performance level. And so thank you to Mr. Ippinson and Mr. Settles and everyone else that was involved in that process. I would try to entertain any questions you have about that.
That is great. Thank you,
Dr. Thompson, did that change the overall score for the district then?
We are not allowed to, they will not allow a district score to change based on a bump. So our district score is still good. But hopefully that will be different in future years.
do you mind if I say something, make a comment? Well, just on Friday, I was able to have someone in the room, one that's in charge of AQuest at the state, and also some other folks that were a part of the review panel. And they agreed that that was a very daunting process of that review, because some schools provided mountains of information, and some schools maybe provided a file of information. So they need, this is that unintended consequences that come from this. I appreciate that they allow us the opportunity to speak on our behalf, but I would agree they should have had a better outline of what that needed to look like. Because I think the people that were submitting information were kind of like shooting in the dark. They weren't really sure what they were aiming at. And so I think we would anticipate a cleanup of that process for the next year. But that AQuest, it's an ever-evolving piece yet. So.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the president's report. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the superintendent's evaluation was done, and Dr. Thompson's 2019 evaluation has been completed. She received scores of exceptional or effective in all areas: strategic planning, organization, advocacy, and community relations were strengths. In addition, it was noted that the district has made great strides under Dr. Thompson's leadership, improved facility planning, the implementation of the NPS instructional model, the creation of the power of preschool, the revision of our homework policy, strong professional development opportunities, safety enhancements, teacher selection and evaluation, career academy and dual credit partnerships, strong board and community relationships, and the district's solid financial position, as well as the political advocacy, were listed as examples. So thank you, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you.
Committee reports, Facilities and Finance Committee reports. Is that Patty? Computer's not there.
Thank you.
Dr. Goebbels.
Patty works. The committee met at noon today. We did review claims, and as you can see here, we discussed a number of topics. The first one was an update on the 25th Street renovation, and because the sign is now out in front of the building that says Little Panthers Preschool, I guess we can call it that instead of the 25th Street project. But if you drive by there, you'll notice that the sign is up. There is a lot of work occurring at that site. I think it's finally at the point, as we talked about, that you can start seeing the progress. So much work has been done previously, but it was things that don't really show up. I've noticed that the plastic that they have keeps moving further and further, so that also is an indication that they are getting work done and moving. Still anticipate being on time for delivery of the facility to us. So also then we talked about a recommendation for the 403B plan management services. We had one proposal. It was the group that has been servicing our employee 403B and I think Roth plans. We believe that that service will continue to be helpful and effective for our employees. So you'll see that we're going to recommend that. Next was just a review of the beverage provider proposal, just discussion at this point. You can anticipate seeing something more about that in the future. We did review the compensation increases for classified nurses and administration. Took some time, Bill walking us through the details of the compensation increases, and those will each be action items for each group later on during the meeting. We reviewed a proposal for an additional student lockers at the senior high. At our last study session, when we talked about safety, it was mentioned that one of the goals was to increase the number of lockers at the senior high. So we're moving forward with getting additional lockers. We also reviewed a proposal from RSP and Associates for further study on enrollment trends. As you know, Dr. Thompson, when we do enrollment projections, she uses 2 different trend analysis methods, and those have been very helpful. However, there is so much more data that we could have that would provide us more information, data related to the information on the census, looking at migration patterns throughout the community, all of those kinds of things. So we believe that it would be very beneficial to have RSP and Associates do an enrollment analysis for our district. And then finally, we discussed seeking proposals for intercom phone upgrades and kitchen equipment. They're 2 separate things really, but not intercoms in the kitchen necessarily, but probably a phone there. And really, again, the first part of that goes back to the safety discussion that we've had, that we need to have reliable communication systems throughout our district for safety purposes. The kitchen equipment is to add equipment to the Little Panther preschool building. Maybe 25th Street's better, it's easier to say. Anyway, the Little Panther preschool building kitchen, we want to have that be a production kitchen. Including new equipment in the kitchen was not part of the renovation that Jim Lange is doing. So this is a separate proposal, a separate need. Obviously, if it becomes a production kitchen, then we could be getting meals ready not only for that building, but perhaps for several other buildings that are relatively close to the 25th Street project. So that's it. I would try to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Patty. Next, we have the Activities Committee report. Bob Waite.
Thank you, Madam President. Much like what the minutes say, a lot of discussions revolved around the district in Class A and Class B classifications. And Mr. Reese brought some information to us showing us what projected enrollments would be for the next 3 years regarding where Norfolk might fall. And for all practical purposes, it appears as though that our enrollment, for boys anyway, is going to stay static or about the same. So we may very well, in 2 years, go back to Class A and then stay there. But that depends on what the Nebraska School Activities Association is going to do in some classification meetings that I think one of them has already occurred, and there's another one that's going to happen again later. It appears as though the NSAA is contemplating the possibility of moving from 28 Class A schools to 32 Class A schools. And in that case, Norfolk will remain in Class A in all of its activities. In the meantime, we have the 2 that we could possibly go to Class B if we just allowed the association to engage in its process. We can, however, if we choose to, elect to stay in Class A. And we have another meeting coming up in April, and that will be probably the great topic of conversation. And we looked at what's been going on with participation levels in the district, and pretty much that was it. But it was a very interesting meeting. It took a long time, and I'm looking forward to the next one to see what the possibilities are going to be. Any questions?
Not a question, Bob, but just a comment. I hope we get to a point where we're in the same class, especially, I mean, we didn't have this, but I can think of at least one school that For basketball, the girls were Class B and the boys were Class A. And that just makes it really confusing, I think. So hopefully we'll kind of get through that and have a more stable classification.
I think if I were to read the activities committee, I think if we were thought about going to Class B in those areas, it would be my suggestion we bring that to the whole board for conversation and discussion. But if I read that group properly, I think, and myself included, that, as you said, it's very confusing about what you're going to be in basketball boys and what you're going to be in basketball girls. And it would be just simpler for everybody. And we already know we're the lowest end of enrollment in Class A, have been that way for a long, long time. And we just rather stay all Class A, if I read that committee correctly. And I think that's what we would propose to do. However, with the enrollments that are occurring in the metro areas of Omaha and Lincoln, and the construction of new schools, and how Elkhorn chooses to remain Class A or Class B, all of those things are going to play into that picture. So as best we can, I think it would be safe to say that we would probably elect to stay Class A.
If we do nothing for next year in year 1920, boys basketball would be B, girls basketball would be A, and the same thing with soccer. So that is something that we're looking at very closely. We did not make a final determination, as we want Mr. Reese to go and get the most current information before we do that.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Policy Committee report, Dr. Goebbels.
I know you find this hard to believe, but the policy committee did not meet this month. You're disappointed, I know. However, we did electronically discuss policy 6240, the homework policy, and we have decided to wait until next month to present that for first reading. Our next policy committee meeting is scheduled for 10 o'clock on Wednesday, March 27th.
Thank you, Dr. Goebbels. Government Relations Committee, Tammy Day.
Thank you. I'm probably going to read this because there's a lot going on, people. The legislative session is well underway. We just have about 2 weeks left for hearings, so finishing up with those. So our committee met twice, February 28th and then March 5th. We had a conference call with GNSA where we discussed upcoming legislation, talked about positions related to various bills, and developed strategy accordingly. Dr. Bill Robinson provided neutral testimony on behalf of GNSA related to LB 614, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and Patty Goebbels presented opposing testimony on behalf of NPS, the NASB, and GNSA related to LB 670. In addition, Dr. Thompson has provided written testimony opposing LR 8CA and LB 506. Whew. Okay, so LB 614 is a property tax reduction and school finance bill. So the positive components of the bill that we support include that it provides a mechanism to expand the tax base, which would then reduce property taxes. It increases state aid to K-12 education, and it increases the SPED reimbursement rate from 50% to 80%. So positives there. The portion we're concerned about with that bill is the addition of supplemental aid, or you might have heard it called foundation aid, to non-equalized schools. That could possibly result in a reduction to state aid to equalized districts like ourselves in the future. The pie is only so big sometimes. So then LB 670 is a bill that was up last week, and that's the one that Patty testified against. That would provide tax credits for donations to non-public schools, so private schools, whatever you want to call them. We oppose the use of public tax dollars for non-public schools, which are not held at the same standards as public schools, and they are not governed by elected officials. So we took an opposition stance to that. LR8CA would place a 3% growth cap on public schools. Budget and spending caps already exist, which makes this legislation basically unnecessary and overly burdensome. And it's especially problematic for growing school districts because you're limited. LB 506 also places additional budgeting caps on schools. Apparently CAPS is very popular this year, and we oppose it for the same reason. So lots of bills to keep track of, kind of waiting for the hearings to be done and see what shakes out, and then we'll get back to it. GNSA meeting is in March. It is March 20th. That's next Wednesday. And then we'll be meeting the week after that to regroup and see where we need to go. Any questions that I probably can't answer? No, I'm just kidding.
Just a clarification. I intended to testify on 670 and started toward Lincoln and turned around and came home. That was a really snowy, kind of ugly day. So I did send my testimony, written testimony, to all of the members of the Revenue Committee. I know that it couldn't be entered as public record at that point, but I asked them if they would please put it in their hearing files. And at least one of them responded right away and said, absolutely, I'll do that. So I'm hopeful that it ended up in more than one committee member's file, but made an attempt anyway. And then GNSA and NASB were not left in the cold because they quickly found people who could go ahead and provide opposition testimony.
Thank you. And there was not school. They called off school on Friday because of the snow. So, yeah, it was a wicked day out there. Thank you, Tammy. The minutes of the committee meetings from March 5th, the nurses meeting and student health fund meeting are attached. Consent agenda. The minutes of the previous meeting from January 14th and January 24th are attached. Personnel, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. We do have both contracts and resignations for your consideration this evening. Beginning with contracts, we have Melissa Behrens, teacher at Little Panthers Preschool, Alexis Bruja, special education teacher at Little Panthers Preschool, Jessica Furnaw, special education teacher at Little Panthers Preschool, Satalia Ramirez, teacher at Little Panthers Preschool, Lucas Zimba, English teacher at Norfolk Senior High School, Lucinda, otherwise known as Lacey Rehan, teacher at Little Panthers Preschool, Brooke Poshpispel, first grade teacher at Westside Elementary School, Caitlin Merchant, title teacher at Westside Elementary School, Morgan Wilkin, math teacher at Norfolk Senior High School, and Alexandra Stahlecker, English teacher at Norfolk Senior High School. And we already have additional ones for our next meeting.
And resignations, Dr. Thompson.
We also have several resignations. I'm hoping we're getting towards the end of these. Carrie Messersmith, school psychologist, Ashley Cooper, junior high math teacher, Pat Dodson, third grade teacher at Bel Air Elementary, Becky Miller, special education and digital integration facilitator for the district, Taylor Johnson, speech language pathologist, Sarah Iman, special education teacher at Norfolk Senior High, and Joyce Kirshner, elementary media specialist. And if you notice, Mary Lure has been hit hard by these.
Yes.
That's why we've been out trying to recruit people.
Oh my goodness, yes. And how many of these were retirements, do you know? Well, we wish all of these folks the best of luck and say thank you so much. Okay, now we need to have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda as.
Sorry, I get so excited, don't I? Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. Attached are the claims for the month of March. These claims were reviewed earlier today by Finance and Facility. Also attached are the conflict statement on the specific claims that need to be read before voting.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Now I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Bob and a second by Bruce. Is there any conversation?
Yes, there is. Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest, and I am abstaining from voting on Claim 432 for the month of March in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the item which I have identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Okay, please vote. You say that? No. Come up mine. Thank you, Missy. Good job. Okay, 9.1, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 2019-2020 Little Panthers preschool calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. The Little Panthers preschool calendar was attached for your review. It matches our K-12 calendar as closely as Rule 11 will allow. There are just a few things that we have to change to meet those requirements. For example, the Little Panthers preschool start and end dates are different than our K-12 because we are required to have home visits at the preschool level. And you will see that Wednesdays are no school days in order to allow our teachers to have plan time. That is the only day that they get any plan time during the week. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have had as you reviewed the calendar.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2019-2020 Little Panthers preschool calendar.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Tammy and a second by Patty. We've already had discussion, correct? Please vote. Thank you. 9.2, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the following board policies related to administration. 2310, evaluation of administrative personnel. 2320, evaluation of superintendent. 2400, line of authority. 2410, administrative action in emergencies. 2420, staff handbooks. 2430, attendance at professional growth meetings. 2440, administrative action in absence of policy. Dr. Thompson.
There have been no changes made to these policies since their first reading. The policy committee recommends that they be approved.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the policies as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Bob and a second by Tammy. Is there any discussion? Please vote. Thank you. 9.3, discuss, consider, and take action to approve Board Policy 5006 AR, option enrollment capacities for 2019-2020. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Grade level and program capacities have been reviewed and compared to enrollment projections for 2019-2020 as required by state statute. All grades except the second grade and all programs are at capacity or are full for 2019-2020. This means that second grade is the only grade that can accept option enrollment students next year. If you recall, this is the small kindergarten class that is working its way through our system. Last year there were 14 spots available. This next year there's only 5, so it is filling up as we move forward. I would anticipate this might be the last year that we have openings there.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve board policy 5006 AR option enrollment capacities for 1920.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Bruce and a second by Tammy. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Okay, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. 9.4, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the addition of 1 special education teacher at the senior high level. Mrs. Laura. Marley.
With the, the proposal was in there, but with this addition, with the targeted based grading, there is an increased need to be able to support our students within the co-taught classes. And as our kids move up and lessening the number of classes to keep all of them in the regular curriculum, we need more support within those 11th grade classes. And that teacher will allow us to support our students. Are there any questions? I'm sure there's some.
Thank you, Mary. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the addition of 1 special ed teacher at the senior high level.
Second.
We have a motion by Bruce and a second by Tammy. Is there any other discussion? Okay, please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
9.5, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the proposal for 403B Plan Management Services. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. I am recommending to the board to accept the proposal from Retirement Plan Consultants to continue with managing the District 403B and Roth plans through 23-24 school year. All components of the proposal will continue the service which we currently have with the Retirement Plan Consultants. This proposal was reviewed at last month's Finance and Facility Committee meeting. While only 1 proposal was submitted, the committee feels the needs of district employees who participate in 1 or more of these plans will continue to be handled at a high level.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the proposal of the 403B Plan Management Services from Retirement Plan Consultants through the 2023-24 school years.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Bob and a second by Patty. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. 9.6, discuss, consider, and take action to grant permission to seek proposals for district intercom and phone upgrades. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. As part of enhancing safety in our district buildings, I am recommending to the board to grant permission to write specifications and request proposals for upgrading intercom and phones throughout the district. The funds for this will come from maintenance and depreciation budgets.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant permission to seek proposals for the district intercom and phone upgrades.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Bruce. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. 9.7, discuss, consider, and take action to grant permission to seek bids for the district's annual Chromebook purchase. Mrs. Nelson.
Annually, we budget for the updating of student devices. I'm seeking permission to collect bids for the purchase of Chromebooks for the 1920 school year.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to grant permission to seek bids for the district's annual Chromebook purchase.
I will second that motion.
Have a motion by Patty and a second by Bob. Is there discussion? We're a quiet bunch. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 9.8, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 2019-2020 salary structure for classified staff. This is hourly and salary. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. It is recommended to provide the district hourly classified staff a 3.3% increase to their hourly rate for 1920, and district salaried classified staff a 3.3% package increase for 1920. This is the same percentage as agreed upon for the certified staff that was approved in February. Also attached is the recommended base hiring rates for the district hourly and salaried classified positions for 1920.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 1920 salary structure for classified staff, hourly, and salary.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Tammy and a second by Bob. Is there discussion? Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. 9.9, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 2019-2020 salary structure and employment agreement for nurses. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. It is recommended that the nurses receive a 3.3% package increase for 1920. This percent is the same used with all other employee groups for 1920, and attached is the proposed 1920 employment agreement, also pay schedule for the nurses.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2019-2020 salary structure for nurses.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Patty and a second by Bruce. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. 9.10, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 2019-2020 salary structure for administrators. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. It is recommended to approve a 3.3% package increase for our PK-12 administrative staff for 1920. The recommended salary structure for 1920 is also attached.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 1920 salary structure for administrative staff.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Bob and a second by Tammy. Would you like to discuss this? Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And 9.11, discuss, consider, and take action to seek proposals for kitchen equipment for Little Panthers Preschool. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. I am recommending to the board permission to request proposals for necessary equipment upgrades to bring the current kitchen up to necessary standards in order for the kitchen to become a district production kitchen, not only for Little Panthers Preschool, but also other K-4s. Funds for these upgrades would come from the nutrition and depreciation funds.
Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to seek proposals for kitchen equipment for Little Panthers Preschool.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Bruce and a second by Patty. Is there any discussion? Okay, please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. The second monthly meeting of the Board of Education has been scheduled for noon on Thursday, March 28th, 2019. And we already have some things, so it will be going on. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, April 8th, 2019. The study session will begin at 5:30 and will be followed by the business meeting at 6:30. All components of these meetings will be held at the Norfolk Public Schools Central Administration Offices and will be open to the public unless an executive session is needed in order to protect the interest of the district or the reputation of an individual, which we will now do. We will go into executive session to discuss superintendent salary negotiations as needed to protect the interest of the district.
I'll make a motion to convene executive session to discuss superintendent's salary as needed to protect the interest of the district.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Bruce and a second by Patty. Please vote.
There you go. 7:34. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, at 7:34, we are going into executive session.
There will be no action taking after the executive session, as state statute requires us to publish the superintendent's salary and contract prior to the meeting upon which it is voted.